先坐吧。
好的，那一会儿晚点之后交流一下。
Please take your seat, everyone. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. Good evening, welcome to our Café de Sciences lecture tonight. My name is Sisun. I'm the head of art science at Swiss Next in China. So as I see many of you are coming here for the first time, I'll give a brief introduction of our organization before we start. Swiss Next in China is the science consulate of Switzerland in China. As part of the Swiss Next Global Network, We connect Switzerland, China, and the whole world in science, research, innovation, and education. Our mission is to support the outreach and active engagement of our partners in the international exchange of knowledge, ideas, and talent. The 5 main SwissNext locations are established in some of the most innovative regions in the world: Boston, Brazil, China, India, and San Francisco. SwissNext is an initiative of the State Secretary for Education, Research, and Innovation of Switzerland and is part of the Swiss Confederation's network abroad, managed by the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs. So the lecture today is part of our Café de Sciences lectures initiated in 2019. We try to present Swiss spotlight scientists, startups, artists, and designers in this lecture series, and we try to connect them with the local network. So this year we try to focus on sustainability and innovation. We've been talked about sustainable fashion, innovation for sustainable future, sustainable finance, and etc. And today we're going to look at the aging problem and the elderly care industry. And we've invited 2 experts from F&P Robotics, and they will give us talks on the acceptance of new robot technologies in elderly care. So in the first session, we're going to hear from Mr. Michael Früh, CEO of FNP Robotics. FNP Robotics is a Swiss pioneer in personal robotics with its roots at the AI lab of the University of Zurich and ETH Zurich. FNP also provides all-in-one robotic solutions, leveraging expertise in arm and factory technologies, as well as artificial intelligence. So for Michael, he has a solid background in the healthcare industry, and he will share with us his insights on medical care industry in Switzerland, Germany, elaborate on the current user cases, and look into the aging industry in the near future. So we will have also the Q&A session after each presentations. So for our online audience, you may also type in your question in the Q&A box. So Michael, the floor is yours.
Hi, Sissy. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I'm not yet able to share my video, Sissy, because it seems to be restricted for me to share my video. Would you like me to continue anyways, or would you like to quickly have a look at that?
Could you please turn on your video?
I try, but in Zoom it tells me I'm not allowed because the host has stopped it to share the video of me.
We'll have a check at the host. Just a moment.
Okay. Okay.
Would you be able to share your slides?
Yes, I think so. Should I start and then try later with the video?
Yeah, I think we can start. We can still show your screen afterwards.
Okay, then let's do it this way. So even though you can't see me, I warmly say hi from Zurich, Switzerland. Best greetings to Shanghai and wherever you might be. It's a big pleasure for me to be a part of this Café de Sciences of today. My name is Michael Früh. I'm the CEO of F&P Robotics AG, and we are based in Zurich, Switzerland, as Sissy has told you. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm happy to share some insights about the robotics industry in elderly care, how the developments are, what kind of use cases we have, and also where the story is continuing. So very briefly, who we are a team of 50 employees. We are based mainly in Zurich with our mother company, but we also have a subsidiary in Shanghai where Monica will talk afterwards about her insights. We were founded in 2014, so 7 years old, and we have our background at the AI lab of the University of Zurich and ETH, like Sissi has mentioned. We are focused on personal robotic assistance, so we want to combine robots and humans in everyday life, not only in industry, but also in other areas like healthcare, hospitality, and others, where it's very important that robots are smart and safe. Our core technology that we have developed in the last 7 years is consisting of robotic arm technology. So we are experts in grasping things, really physically interacting with the environment, picking up objects, handing it to a person. And okay, now I think you can see me. So hi to everyone. And to really have this arm technology to support people in everyday life. We also use applied AI algorithms to detect people, to detect objects, to combine the information to really give better use cases to our robots in everyday life. We have developed our own operating system, which runs all our robots. And we are specialized in safety and personality, which means that our robots can be used without any guarding and by every person, so also non-trained users, and that our robots have some characteristics that they can speak, that they can understand voice commands, etc. We have many of those things protected in our IP list. And like I said, we combine our technology with market knowledge. So we have experience from unique projects in healthcare. We have a lot of interdisciplinary knowledge in-house, also towards healthcare. We have co-authored books and have a very good network in Europe to healthcare institutions. So from this technology, we basically derived 3 product lines. Number 1 is Leo on the left side, which is a mobile assistant in care robotics, which I'm going to continue in a minute. We have also Barney, a fully autonomous bar solution, a bartender robot for hospitals, for hotels, restaurants, airports, etc. And we have our collaborative robot PROB, which is used in collaborative industrial automation, like pick and place task, packaging, testing, etc. Today, I'm going to focus on Leo, of course, in healthcare. So what is the situation in healthcare in Europe? We have many people over the age of 80 years, and this amount will double compared to today until 2040. So in 20 years time, we have double as many people above the age of 80 as today. In the meanwhile, we have also a lot of care workers missing. You have 230,000 care workers missing in Germany alone already today. So who will then take care of all those people who need assistance? The costs also go rapidly upwards as the demand is higher, but also the technical solutions and the medicine is getting more expensive, better, but more expensive. So the costs will triple in elderly care in those 25 years. And the market is also a lot in consolidation phase. So all the elderly care homes that might have been alone in a municipality get bought into larger groups. So in Switzerland and Germany, the elderly care market is quite consolidated. So you have big players who control many of those elderly care homes in a group together. So you have to deal with those groups instead of single elderly care homes. So the market potential for care robots to assist in these elderly care homes, we believe, is very large. From our experience with the Leo robot, one robot can assist approximately 20 residents in an elderly care home. So we calculated then the potential, the market potential in Europe, but also in China, which then lies about in Europe for 250,000 robots and in China with 350,000 robots. We have calculated this as one robot per 20 nursing beds. Does not mean that every of these nursing beds is already occupied by now. And Leo, the robot can perform up to 16 hours of work per day to increase quality of life and also relieve care personnel. So we believe the demand is very high and the potential is also great for new technologies to support. Mobile robot assistant Leo is a high-tech product. It looks quite nice and friendly. We tried to make a design which is acceptable by elderly people, but also by care staff, but it is full of technology. So it can autonomously navigate in a room. So it does not need to have guidelines on the floor or something like that. It can autonomously navigate. It has several cameras for face, object, and gesture detection. It can interact by speech. It is made in Switzerland and also compliant with the relevant ISO norms, and is designed as a platform with many skills to be added in the future. Like your telephone, you can download apps. For Leo, many more functionalities will come. Leo has 3 main purposes. So what we want to deliver with the robot is, first of all, increase the quality of life of residents and patients, increase autonomy and their activity. The second point is to relieve care personnel from routine tasks like transport, reminders, water distribution, etc. And number 3 is to really reduce infections. In these COVID times, it was also an important task of the robot to do disinfection and also to improve health. Leo has 4 main areas of skills or function that Leo can provide. The number 1 is physical support. So really being active in routine tasks, transporting items, handing over items, etc. The second part of his activities is activation for mental trainings, but also physical activation. The third one is well-being and quality of life, being a good company of elderly people. And the number 4 is, like I said, to increase safety and hygiene. I want to show you a quick video that you have an idea of how Leo looks. It's in German with subtitles, but I will comment on it. So here you can see the arm of Leo that can grasp and carry different items. In the physical support area, you can see now the navigation of the robot in a facility, the autonomous charging. Leo is able to open doors, enter rooms. Leo can then be loaded, unloaded by care staff and can carry disinfection material. Leo is designed to be able to detect objects also on the floor, to pick them up for people who cannot do that themselves. Leo can also have different skills, like here water distribution, to autonomously bring cups to different places and to support in everyday duties. There are also, like I mentioned, activities in activation and in well-being, like therapy tools to distribute them, but also to entertain people with information about the weather, about events, also tell stories and play games. And last but not least, like I said, also in safety and hygiene, in applications we developed about recognition of people and also temperature, but also in terms of disinfection of door handles, etc. That you have a small insight how Leo then also behaves. We have, until now, we have realized about 20 projects where Leo was active or still is active in real life care institutions. The one that you see on this slide is called Wamit Zielschlacht. It's a rehabilitation clinic where Leo is doing activation, delivery, and disinfection on an everyday basis. You have a second one, which is Agaplesion Berlin, which is a large elderly care home group in Germany, where Leo does offer snacks and information and also reminding of residents about topics and then accompanying them. And the third example is where Leo is active in a home of a young lady with disabilities, where Leo then can be of support in daily tasks like handing over a drink, picking up something, scratching the back, to be just a personal assistant to help people live a more independent life. So to realize all those things, we need to embed a lot of technologies into this product of Leo. And we have our background at the University of Zurich and ETH, so we are close to the newest development in technologies. And here you have a list of 12 technologies which are relevant to us at this given moment. And these are 12 out of 30 of the most emerging technologies with the highest growth rates currently globally. So to do robotics, you need to combine a lot of technologies to really make the robot being able to, at the end, deliver value for the patient and the resident. Here you can also see a small insight in how we do that. For example, with recognition of the environment and recognition of people. So the robot tries to make sense out of all the information the robot collects to think about what to propose to us as the patient as a next step. You see below those levers, they go up and down. So depending on what the robot sees, what time it is, etc., preferences, the robot adjusts different characteristics about us to propose the next best action to us. For example, if we have not drinking the whole day, that Leo can propose a drink, or that we should be active again to tell a joke if you're not in a good mood, etc. But the topic of today was also acceptance. So I would like to emphasize this topic a little bit. We have basically thought a lot about how to design Leo, our robot. And there you have two options, or you have more, but I think two important options. Number one is you have on the left side a more humanoid kind of design, where you have a robot which has similar proportions as a human. On the right side, you have more a comic, an animal kind of a design. And we decided for the right one. And I would like to quickly explain why. So first of all, it's a matter of culture, of course. But in Europe, we have done some interviews and investigations, and people tend in the tendency prefer to have a technical tool which can be positive, have a positive character, but not being a human looking tool. So just from a cultural preference, we think for Europe, it was a better decision to go for a more character style on the right-hand side. The second thing is that when something looks human, people also think it has human abilities. So when you have a robot like looking on the left, people always think, oh, this robot can do as many things as we humans can do. And in reality, this is not yet possible. So robots are limited in their use. So this gap then in expectations is much bigger on the left side. Also, the fear of replacement is much bigger when you have a robot on the left side, because people think, oh, now comes a robot that can do my job, which is different when you have more as a technical design. This is also an important aspect. And the third one, of course, is also safety. So you have to have a very safe system. And the left one has a much higher center of mass. So to tip over is the risk is much higher if you have a humanoid design instead of having a more technical system with a lower center of mass. This, as you can see a little bit about what our thinking was behind the choice, how Leo looks at the moment. There are also many studies. This is now a German study, so apologies for the German words, but it's very simply put. They researched what influences the level of acceptance of people towards robotic systems in elderly care. And they investigated different aspects. So let's say, has a person a specific background in a specific industry? Let's say, is it an engineer or is it an elderly care worker? They did also investigate, is age important for acceptance? So younger people versus elder people. The third one was, do they have prior knowledge about robots? The fourth one was, do they have kids? The fifth one was, do they have relatives to do nursing jobs? The sixth was whether they are male or female. And the seventh one was technical acceptance in general. And what they found, interestingly, is that age and having children or not does not have any influence on acceptance. So this is also matching with our experience. So elderly people accept the robot very well in our applications. And no matter how old they are, even very old people are very curious about the robots. So this was interesting for us, as a common meaning is that people that are older, they do not accept technology, but this is not what we experience and also not what the studies show. So what do we do to our robots to be accepted? So we, of course, in the functionality, we try to check very much what is actually needed. So we engage with the customer. We do really evaluations in multiple stages during the development of functions. We have analytical approaches to review those user interactions we have with the robot. And we test use cases in real life scenarios. So we really try to involve the customer as much as possible to define the functions. The second thing is the social capabilities of the robot, which are really also important for acceptance, that it can interact with people, that you can really wishes of the individual people can be integrated. We do a lot of testing of those human factors and also use research and user groups to do the research on that. The third one is the appearance of Leo, so that it's having a soft touch, that it's nice to touch Leo, that it's not a humanoid like I mentioned before, that we do eliminate everything which is unnecessary, and that the Leo with his head can adjust to people's height, whether they are sitting, whether they are standing, to really make people feel comfortable with the robot. The last point is that we have an autonomy level, so that the robot can really also be proactive, also telling that Leo is smart, that these functions are and processes are really embedded in everyday workflows, that Leo can do autonomously tasks, so Leo does not have to be accompanied all the time, but can work autonomously, like grasping and transporting of items. So behind all of those parts, a complete team is working, also of psychologists, interacting and trying to improve our system on all of those levels. And as a result, we can say that Leo is really very well accepted among the elderly people and healthcare staff. So the outlook for our company is, of course, to improve our offerings all the time with customers that we have and new that we get. We want to maintain our leadership in this niche and want to rapidly expand. And one also market is, of course, China. Last, I want to finish with some critical success factors in our niche from my point of view. So we need to be the leaders, not only by product, but also by understanding the customer's challenges. This is at least 50% of the equation to be successful, really to provide helpful services, also to integrate such technology into the elderly care homes and care facilities. So acceptance is key. So involve all key holders at the beginning, and concerns need to be taken seriously. Then, of course, it's also about business. So we need to have a good sales strategy, good network to get access to those institutions and really offer USP based on the needs of the customer, not USPs just on the technology based. And from operations, of course, we need to have the production and logistics under control and the required capital. So I hope that I could have given you in these 20 minutes a quick overview what we have done so far. And I'm happy to answer also some questions that you might have in the next minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for your insightful presentation. So if you have any questions for Michael, you can just raise your hand. Are there any questions from the on-site audience? Yes, please.
Michael, do you have experience of the machine helping the elderly stay in their medication, so be compliant with the medication over time? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. This is a very important task in elderly care homes indeed, to first of all deliver the medicine to the elderly people in the rooms, but also to remind them to take them and also to have finally the control. This is quite a tricky job for a robot. It is already a quite tricky job for the nurses themselves to make sure that everyone takes the medicine. We have had a look at the complete process. The medicine delivery to the elderly person is basically fine, but then the control part of it is quite tricky for a robot to do, to really do the checks and balances that the medicine has been taken, because this is very important for the health, of course, that this is then done. So what we do is reminding, so Leo can be set in a way that every day that he goes and reminds people about taking their medicine. It is also theoretically possible to deliver the medicine, but the control part of it is the limiting factor at the moment.
We have another question from the online audience. As much as you know, when FNP taps the global market, what are the main difference you have found in terms of consumer concern, market feedback, and robotics application in the elderly care industry?
Yes, so okay, yeah, it's really different from country to country how these technologies are accepted and also what kind of regulatories are involved. So at the moment we focus mainly on Germany and Switzerland because we speak the language. We have quite a same cultural preset, so acceptance, ethics, also the rules in terms of data protection, AI regulation, etc., goes in the same direction. So in these markets, we know what is necessary. We have had a lot of experience. When you take a system like Leo into a new culture, into a new country, then you have to really learn a lot initially. The elderly care homes are differently organized, they are differently financed. So it is really a country by country business on all aspects. And this is also what we are going to do, to work with partners who know better the markets which they are already in, which already deliver systems to their end customers. So to enter those new markets, we go via partners. In China, we have our own subsidiary, with Monica being the business development director, and she certainly can tell later more about how to then go to China and be successful.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the on-site audience? Yes, please.
Hi, Michael, can you hear me?
Hi, very well.
Thank you. Yeah, so what we were talking about was all about the healthcare area. So I'm from the Chinese Academy of Science. So I was thinking like if this Leo or some other comparable model can be reprogrammed to assist the scientists perform some, like co-working scientific research jobs. It's like the question is more about what's the maximum limitation of the extendability and reprogrammability of this robot? Yep. Could you?
Thank you for the question. It's also a very good one. So I would say the biggest strength of Leo is that it can basically do everything. So Leo is a technology platform involving a mobile robot plus a robot manipulator and a lot of software. So basically Leo could be used for all kind of different tasks. We already in the past have also realized some logistics to support also lab workers. We also already have done a use case for that. So, but we as I would say, not such a huge company, we had to focus on a specific niche with a lot of, I would say, special knowledge that you need to build up to really have a chance to enter this market. So this is why we went for healthcare. This does not mean that Leo would not be able to really fulfill needs or let's say requirements of the scientific community. For example, like you mentioned, in a lab environment or so, we already have some university as customers of Leo. They then take Leo, do their own research, and also use Leo as their assistant. So this we definitely also could provide to in the scientific community to be an assistant, but we as developers, we focus on the healthcare market at the moment.
All right, thank you, Michael. So I saw there were 3 models. One is called Leo, and what's the pros and cons for the other 2?
Yes, so the second model is called Barney. It's a fully autonomous robotic bar that we have installed internationally already. So it's an expansion for, let's say, a restaurant owner or an event hall owner to have another point of sale of drinks, including coffee, beer, soft drinks, and also cocktails if you wish. So this is a fully autonomous bar system, but that's a different market than healthcare. There are some similarities. A hospital also needs to have drinks, etc., but this will maybe go together in the future. Then the third product we have is PROB. PROB is the robotic arm component, basically our core technology, which is reliable since 5 years in everyday use. And this one is used for, I would say, handling tasks, packaging tasks, testing tasks in collaborative industrial applications. And this robot arm can also go to all different kind of use cases, and we sell the technology, and the integration is done then by the customer itself or by a partner who does then the integration.
All right, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. So if we don't have any other questions, okay. So we take one last question for Michael.
Thank you, Michael, for the introduction of your robot, Leo. Just to gain some more specific technical capabilities of this robot, I want to ask you a very specific question, because it seems to me that this robot doesn't have enough or large enough carrying capacity. So if let's say a nurse wants to order this robot to deliver several let's say, orders for different aging old patients, then the robot has to come back and forth to carry different orders, right? Or can this robot continue to deliver products or delivering cares in one go? So this is a question I want to, to know more about. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. This is understandable. I see where you're coming from. So Leo is not a logistics robot, if you will. Leo is an assistant robot. So Leo is designed to help 20 people on a nursing ward, more or less. It's not designed to, let's say, fulfill the requirements of a large hospital with many stories where you have to deliver, let's say, 200, 300 plates of food at once. So Leo can carry on the back about 25 kilograms. It's realized at the moment with a box. So the box can be loaded or with drinks or whatsoever, up to 25 kilograms. And the robot arm is capable of lifting up to 5 kilograms. So this has several reasons. First of all, in assistive tasks, you usually don't need to be stronger. And second, in terms of regulations, it's necessary that the arm has a certain threshold of force that can be applied in a worst case scenario. So these are the two reasons. So logistics, there probably are bigger robots that you then use for several stories, for all day logistics. Leo is mainly designed for up to 20 people. And there also he can deliver cups and meal for this range of people.
Thank you, Michael. So I guess we will move on to the next session. So we also have our speaker here join us today at our event space. That's Miss Monica Zhang. She is the Business Development Director of Asia Pacific of F&P Robotics, and she will share her research and analysis in robotics and the elderly care industry in China. So let's welcome Monica.
Thank you so much for Michael's inputs in our company and Leo's technology, and thank you for SwissNext platform to having us here. So after we have a brief introduction of what F&P Robotics are inventing, here I'm going to sharing some inputs about the smart care industry in the Chinese market. Could you go to the next slide? So here is my background, artificial intelligence MBA in Shanghai Jiaotong University. Before that, I have 8 years experience import and export in the international business, and among there are 5 years in the robotic startups. In the team established business strategies and project implementation. So my past experience, I'm going to deeper more on the 4 points on topics that I'm going to sharing with all of you. So mainly their current situation, how the care industry is going to be happening in China, and how we are solve these solutions based on Leo, on our other robot solutions, and what the challenges we are facing right now during the period. And of course, the last are some thoughts that we might have after our market development. So for the first part, can you go to the next slide? Probably you guys will have to remember very good on the numbers because I have a large statistics on my slides. So we have 1 billion people, which is around 25% of the world population. So right now, we have this people over 65 or above around 13.5%, which is around 190 million people in China. So please remember this number because we have to calculate another one, how much the market size in the next following slides. Can Okay, go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is a social environment we are facing with so large people aging. So the dependency rate means in the small area we will have some labor forces. How much percentage we need a labor to take care of the elderly care? Can you click down? So we know that the China's fertility, the child birth rate is decreasing, but elderly is increasing sharply. So who are going to be take care of the elderly after 10 to 15 years, according to the Chinese government statistics? So right, next slide. So this is the social environment among the structure of how Chinese elderlies are taking care of themselves. You know, we have very strong ethnic and Chinese family culture. So around the majority, 90% of them prefer to live at home or live close to their family relatives, which have large amounts of the emotion factors. And only 7% which choose to in the community care, which means that we're living by my home, living by my community, still have a little bit of family factor. But for the institution care, we are where our robotics or other business parts are going to enter first is institution care. So question is, assume one robot, as the Michael have shared in his PPT, one Leo can serve 20 at least in care institutions. So how large the care robots size in China? Can you calculate? So next slide. Next. Okay. So in the recent 10 years, so Chinese company, they greatly have fostered this concept, smart care. So how this smart care was raised in the previous 4 years, we just raised up this concept by the Chinese National this Aging Association. But greatly after 4 to 5 years, like action according to the internet and IoT action, so it's formally enlisted to the national engineering. And in the recent 4 years, since 2019 until right now, the startups are very active: robotics, AI, artificial. Some of you might have been taking concerns on the World Artificial Intelligence Conference just happened last week in Shanghai. So the financing in the capital market is very active. So a lot of robotics or new technologies is going to be emerging. So next slide, we are going to analyze the technical part. So in the recent 10 to 11 years, China's internet is very fast developing, which was very solid foundation for our online new infrastructure, which was raised in 2018 in China. Also, our government is investing large amounts of money in building this online infrastructure in the big data center. So for among this policy, so you see the recent 3 years statistics, there are such kinds of sharply increased the market scale of 8 AI enterprises, mainly focused on the artificial intelligence, software, algorithm, big data, robotics applied, especially in elderly care. Okay, so this is a development part how the Chinese care industry overall, but the right slide is most important. How the smart care, this sector, account for all the numbers. So from this number, we can see it's going to be like a 15%. So around half of the market from the 35% to the 50%, it's going to be greatly shaping the new kind of methods of smart care. So right now we are going to share how this smart care happening. Okay. So this is the smart care industry trend. We have the upper, middle, and down. From the upper one, we can see most of the hardware, software, and some firms like from the care real estate invested on this land, building some houses, institutions, and the domestic care firms, mainly for buildings, different kind of hardwares. In the middle part, after these facilities are built and the goods are built, they're going to be served this smart care operation service, which is going to be better serve the down layers where is institution care, community care, and of course home. Next slide. For the care robots, of course, it's in the upper layer. Okay, so today we're going to focus on how care robots going to solve these kind of care industry problems. So most of them don't know explicitly how the robots structure in China. So we can see 65% of the industrial market in China. Of course, it's same in the world. But for the service scenario, it's only 35%, and some limited, like in the military, which is owned by the government. For in the Medicare and Medicare, they are just part of this service area, which accounts not less than 30%. Next slide. So we are going to split in the Medicare and elderly care. Click, yeah. So for this Medicare elderly care, they are overlapping and the social robots as well, because sometimes, you know, for the social robots, it's mainly for emotional care or talking or chatting or accompany. But for some public service robots, sometimes it can serve in front of a bank or in front of the hospital or in front of the care institutions. So this is not very, how to say, critical data, just overall understanding. For the care markets, we only account for 15%, but 20% are in the medication, just as that gentleman have asked. So, click. So the care market is still yet to be explored in the next 10 to 20 years, along with the Chinese caring rate. So this is also the number I'm going to let you guys calculate according to some statistics I have shared. The Chinese calculation, let's take example to the 2020. We have the 38,000 institutions registered in China, but we have 13.5% elderly care and only 3% of them living in the institution. So can you calculate how much the robots could serve in this situation, which is the market size of our Leo in China? Next slide. Okay, this is the manufacturer we have searched in Chichacha, which is very famous for Chinese companies registration. So from this sharp increase number, we can see that especially in last year after, because of COVID-19, more people are taking care of the how to say, untouched economy, which robots play the key role. So we can see a sharp increase just in 2020. Most of them are from the south of China, Guangdong, and the eastern China, Jiangsu, and of course across the eastern border in Shandong, Hainan, Chongqing is in the middle because of government policy. Next slide. So let's thinking how much per elderly people spend on the robot service on average. Let's taking this number as an example. We have the 21.5 billion RMB spent on the care robots, but we only have 570 million people living in the institution, just as some data I have shared. So could you calculate how much per care could all afford to the robots? Because it will be related to the challenges we are facing in China market. Next slide. So this is the biggest challenge that's also priority we are facing in Chinese market. For the Chinese silver hair groups consumption, they mainly take care of the convenience, because elderly care, they have a very slow understanding how this new technology was going to be used, where they're going to be buy, and accessibility for using these robots. Of course, most important is cost performance, because in our culture, the elderly life saving, they only spend like 20% of our some daily life goods, maybe like 10 on the service, or some 30% on the family saving, which is related to our very long-rooted culture. Next slide. So the second part is very sensitive. I assume some of you might be very concerned how we are going to handle this data security, these problems. This is not just for our company. So for right now, our Leo is not allowed to listen all the time unless it's a must, because it's related to the people's interaction with the robot directly. The second part is recognition of persons because of the camera. We have to do the personalized service when entering the room. And the second part is the intelligent ability to learn according to the situation. So this part maybe we will elaborate later if you have any Q&A. The technique of feasibility. So the robot right now is maybe have some limits just because it cannot just speak and listen like human because it's integrated from some latest technology. Also some lifting and falling around the downstairs, some sensors are not yet that sensitive like human. That's our challenges. Of course, this is some biggest challenges when we are doing the implementation in some care institutions. So from different kind of users, from the perspective, technical technicians from the FMP robotics, they might understand deeply how these technologies separately was integrated. But from the staff, like the institution operator, they more care about how you are going to generate the efficiency, how you are going to be help me cost down. So they only care about this number. They don't understand so deeply on the technical part. Also don't really know how the users face. They just what I can see. I just want to one key click, then I will get the robot serve for me. So this is a very interdisciplinary sphere that's not easy to balance. So the second part is expectations and fears. You know, some users, they always think your robots can do everything. I want it to be multi-intelligent. It's like my just homemade. But actually, when it's up to that technology, a super intelligent robots might be also a fear to replace the staff, replace the nursing caregiver. So it's something that we also have these thoughts for some solutions to educate the markets during our Chinese development. So the most important part is, of course, government policy, because robots is just fast developing during the recent years. So some regulations is still open. It's still let the market to develop itself. So we need government to optimize the care assistive equipment standards, how the safety was defined, how much degree we could do. Of course, some taxation for the Chinese corporations, because we have to invest a lot in the latest technology. And the second part is going to be to the elderly care, because at end users, we have to cover more the welfare, like endowment, insurance, social welfare in the infrastructure and the renting the equipments. Of course, financing, because it's the supporting our startups to develop continuously. The second part is the care institutions, which is the most important part that most the business part is going to enter. So we just think most of they are not really understanding how these artificial robots are developing. So we are recalling also how more inclusiveness to embrace the revolution, not just against during our maybe communication, understanding their needs. Also, some skilled professionals, they have to be well trained to embrace these changes. This is some solutions to us, which is we are representing the enterprises, also the business part in the long run. So we have to better understand the pain point the care users, which is ultimately create values for no matter the users or the staff as operator. So so here we are not aimed to replace human, but create the technology serve and make sure our Chinese elderly living better. So it's just our concern is your health. Thank you so much for today's sharing.
So I think we can go directly to the Q&A session to Monica. So if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand. And again, for our online audience, you can just type in your questions. We will pick up your questions. Thank you. So anyone who can just raise your hand here.
So, my question is, Monica,
whether this robot is going to manufacture in China mainland or in Switzerland, any country. This, yeah.
So far, most of our implementation application are based in European market. In Chinese market, we just newly introduced in last year around November, early November. So in the first 6 months, is that we're not so how to say sharply to sell, but to understand the market firstly. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of a Taikang Group, which is very famous for the caring insurance. We are building up the strategic cooperation in the long run with their company, because they invest a lot of money in the innovations on the top of the Chinese market. So this is our first step to work with the top caring institutions, caring especially from the insurance the part. Then we gradually understand the top markets and the institutions, middle markets, and then maybe some home markets.
My question is about the design, and I think whether we can produce robots with labs and functional parts like a human will be more popular, I think. And will it be product in the future?
We think the design, because of our robotic arm, core technology is T-Rob. So of course, greatly, I'm not sure you have noticed in the micro sharing, we have multiple choices. Another one is double arm, which is adapt to Chinese market. We have co-designed and co-developed with the Chinese company with the famous Monkey King features. So this, in the next following years, of course, we're going to integrate more techniques in this kind of, because of Chinese culture, we more adapt to such kind of a human-like. Yeah, so my answer is yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we have a question from the online audience. What are the challenges of introducing FMT robotics in China market? I think you already covered some of the challenges. So maybe you could elaborate more on that, or would you like to elaborate more on that?
I think the most challenge right now is you have to spend a lot of time to educate the market firstly, because Chinese market they not, especially for care industry, they're not like the artificial AI robotics, pure robotics. They are a special group. They are low understanding how you are going to serve me. There might be fears to the end users, or my fears is the staff, fears to how you're gonna really low cost and more efficiency. But we have to make sure each group understand technology firstly, because we are already integrate so much AI, so much platform into one, all in one. So far, what's our biggest concern is educate firstly, then business market. That's maybe some more challenge I have covered in the presentation. I'm not sure if some, I see someone raise up his hands. Maybe we can answer more questions freshly.
Actually, I have two questions. First, from the video, I'm a little bit confused. What is the actual assistance you can provide to the senior people? It's like you can talk to them, or you can help them to do something, or fetch up something. So could you elaborate a little bit? The second question is that, so we have seen a lot of cobots, called cobot collaboration robots, which can help people and work side by side by people. So in China, I mean, a lot of company already in this business. So what is the core competence for your companies, compared to those local company and their products? Thank you.
So maybe the video doesn't make it really clear, but I just want to say our real robot is only aimed to be the care assistant. What the assistant do is something, the staff, they are fully loaded. I can help in 30% of work, but not replace him. So like for we have spending 2 hours with Taikon's staff in Shanghai's Shenyuan. So they think that every delivery work, deliver water in the morning, like deliver 7 times of medicine every time. It's repetitive, it's boring. I still have to help him wearing the clothes, brush teeth, it's so much work. So Leo, they can help him on the repetitive deliver work, no matter it's medicine or water. And the second work is healthcare into the rooms. So the Rios can use his arms, open the door, then go to it more smartly into the door until the bed to deliver those kind of stuff, objects. Of course, it's not just deliver, it have some emotion parts. So you can touch her finger or just like touch her hands to make sure you have some emotional interaction with the robots, which is more smartly to do the healthcare. Also, it's more like customized. Not all people need to, the robots go to my room more in the morning to help me exercises, maybe just some personalized ones. And the third part is like you say, interaction. But interaction, I mean, the voice part is not, there are a lot of, like you said, replacements in China market. But what our strength is not just talk and chatting. It's integrated into one platform because this is an assistant. Assistant had to be multi-intelligent, where I can not only help him exercise, but talk and deliver those tasks. And the last part is like it's open to some tasks that's like say during the COVID-19, we can customize how you can detect the temperature, because it's not just all robots can do. All robots that can do a separate task. I can, like these robots, I only for security care, maybe delivering the stuff only to the room. That robot's only for chatting on the desktop, and that robot cannot open the door. So we are building a platform, integrating all of them to one, which is a multi-intelligent assistant. This is our position. The second question goes to what's our competitors in Chinese market. I think this is a diagram I clearly show. This is a pie. That's 65% industrial use, only 35% for the service use. But service use, they have like 15% for the collective robots, not just in the care markets. They're mainly in the Medicare markets for like the antipaction or some like doing some operations to helping doctors free their hands. So for this kind of platform, mobile robots and collab robots integrate into the care industry. I think FMP robotics was the first. If we don't believe, we can do some market research. Of course, we're also facing a lot of challenges in China market. That's because maybe the cost to be the first one. Okay.
Thank you for inviting me here. Yeah, so my first question goes like, if I remember right, you said the first version was released since last November, was it right? So yeah, I was curious about what was so prior to the releasing, there must be some tests performed in the laboratory environment. So what's actually the real scenario test of the result? Was he actually reached the expectations that in the lab environment? Or it's just like, what was the general feedback from the real scenario testing over the past few months?
Different exhibitions, or maybe we go to the research in the real institutions in China, of course in Shanghai. So it's yeah, it's very high expectations from those staff or users. I think robots is like a homemade. They can do everything, not just grabbing water, opening the water. They can help me do the housework. They can do everything. So this high expectation is our job, firstly, to again lower it a little bit and let them know what we have achieved, what we can do on the parts like repetitive work. So this is of course we like we said, it's very big challenge. So how our technician is going to be implement this task over 3 months to the care, you have to implement the door, the QR code, not QR code, sorry, it's not technical terms, just something that robots can recognize firstly, then he can open the door, right? Of course, you have to know the feasibility, if the robot can serve them. So you can see the lightning, if it's feasible to make the robot can see, because they have camera. If the lightning was not so perfect, of course, it cannot serve them, or maybe they can do some adaptations to our robots. So maybe there are a lot more challenges. So I'm not sure if I have answered your question. Yeah, maybe we can discuss later. I know you. Yeah, the technical guy.
Needs the transmitted from the real scenarios, and I believe that's most AI company nowadays do. So what's the way that, or the frequency that you are collecting this data?
Yeah, before I came here, our team was discussing. This is a definite question I have to answer, because right now DD company was leading a bad example on Chinese market, that all the internet company was facing the same problem. Of course, our company is also facing this problem, but we are in the earlier stage in Chinese market. So far, all our data was not yet uploaded to any server. It's just in the local part in the Leo. So second part, maybe we would deploy our server, like maybe, of course, we are definitely working with Chinese companies, of course, like Alibaba or Huawei. So this is a question that our team have to assess in the future as well, because on the to AI implementation on the robots, of course, we have to face the data. But this is a problem we have to discuss together with all other companies, together with the government as well. We have to know explicitly what's your regulations, what do you expect us to protect the data, so that we could say the data, what kind of limitations we are not allowed to do. So I'm not sure this is...
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I guess we are reaching the time limits here, and thank you. And I think I can see good potential of this robots in the elderly care industry, and we also see many challenges. So for the on-site audience, you can still stay here to discuss with Monica or among yourself around these topics. And we also have our network reception waiting for you. For online audience, we look forward to see each other next time. So you can also follow social media channels to stay tuned with us for our further updates. Thank you.